I have Zie West here, joining Beyond the Static. Welcome. Um,
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Why don't you go ahead and you know, talk a little bit about yourself, your new project coming out soon, your music, your inspiration, and all that kind of stuff that people would like to know about you first and foremost.
Yeah, for sure. So, like you said, I'm Zie West. I'm 20. I got my start in Philly because I'm a Drexel student. So it's been a super cool scene to be in. I have a new project coming out July 17th, and it's two songs. One is with Focus Three Dots, who's a super cool producer out in LA, and the other is with Ben Runyon from City Rain. So it's super cool, like super confessional. I think that's a big piece of me as a writer, is just like giving a piece of my soul to my music. I think it's super important to just like bear who you are in order to connect with people. And that's what's at the core of my music for sure. Just connecting with people and just giving them a moment to be like, hey, like it's okay. You're not the only one going through all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I've played some shows in New York with the really dope artist Lily Lane, and been working on stuff in Philly right now. I can do some, well, hopefully with if COVID gets its stuff together and we get our stuff together, we'll do some shows eventually. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I write music to help people feel okay for like 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
That is, I love that. That's all of my favorite artists have that in common, and just trying to be super relatable. Because I think people need that. We go through a lot, like especially with like COVID and all of that. What was it like trying to create during COVID? I know that a lot of people have put that all on hold and like just haven't been creating or putting out as much music. I love that you're pushing forward with it.
Yeah, it was hard. I think the biggest piece that was difficult is creating in COVID is that there was this air of you had to be productive 24/7. Like people were treating it like, especially in the music industry, like you have this extra gift of time. Like you better be making music. And it was hard to get through that for a while because as an artist, like when you're forced to make music, you got nothing. It's just straight blah usually. And the stuff that comes out is just not as strong as I want it to be. So I think it was just a matter of being patient with myself and with my collaborators and just being like, it's okay that if this track isn't exactly where I want it to be yet. We got lucky, honestly. The track with Focus we did in December. So we've been sitting on that for a while. And then the track with City Rain Ben, I don't know what, it just came together really quickly. Like our inspiration just matched and we got lucky. So I think COVID is a gift in the way that we get to all reflect and look at who we are as individuals. But no, it's been super hard creating. I feel like I have to sometimes, it's been hard to get through that. But now that I feel like I'm starting to get used to the pace, it's been okay. It's like weird normal.
So you said you feel like you have to. Like, what do you think? Um, that I don't know if I want to call it an obsession, but like, what is that like? Can you describe that, like that feeling that keeps you pushing forward, that makes you go into that mode of like, I have to do something right now. I have to create, and um I have to let the world know like what's going on inside me.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I have like this artist guilt, if that makes sense. Like, I see other people creating, and I'm like, I have to be doing that. I have to keep moving forward. Like, I have this pressure that sometimes is like unhealthy, where I want to keep moving forward, or I'm failing, which is not true. But so it's just like this pressure as an artist, which is good because it drives me. But I'm trying to think of the best way to answer your question. It's hard. It's something I definitely battle with. I think seeing my friends create and seeing them put out music is just like, it's really competitive. And so I want to be doing that all the time. And it's addictive. It's addictive, like getting a tattoo kind of thing, where it's just, I want to feel that rush again. I want to know that people are listening and feeling better because they're listening. So yeah, I would say it's that. And I just love writing a dope song. Like nothing feels better than being like, wow, that's like really cool and that's amazing, and I'm super excited to share it with people.
I feel that so much on like a a podcast or like content creator side. You know, if it's too long between when episodes come out, or like, if I haven't done much, reviewing of music or anything lately, it's just that like I feel like I need to be doing something or I'm falling behind, that like
Yeah.
anxiety that builds up in like I really need to get this out for it's almost like people are depending on you, even like whether they care or not.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's crazy, even like my supportive friends sometimes, and they're like, oh my God, like when you're releasing new music, it's just like, I don't know. Like hopefully soon. So yeah, I don't, it's just like this, it's this anxiety, guilt mixed with like this rush and high of releasing stuff. As like obviously it's just so it's a gift and a curse. Yeah, it's a gift and a curse.
The reason we had you on, let's jump into that a little bit. So I saw a post, I believe it was in DIY Philly. Um, you know, Mental health is something that's very important to you, and it's a very like near and dear issue to myself as well. Um, self-disclosure, like I'm in therapy, I'm in recovery, I have all the things, like I take medication, all that kind of stuff. So it was like on my end, it was very important to have someone on to talk about that, and how that relates to your music and just like what you do in life, and how that all intersects.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm the same. It's all the things. I'm currently looking for a new therapist, so it's been an exciting couple weeks with that one, working through that. But it just, I think it's something. It's important that we talk about, especially in like this DIY punk scene in Philly, because we talk about it in the music, and the music is so emotionally charged because we're all sensitive creatives, especially like if you're in this industry in any capacity, like you're a sensitive creative, I think. And my music deals with it a lot, but I just want to take that step forward. Like I don't just want to leave it there. I feel like sometimes in our industry, people just kind of like write about it and they're like, all right, that's done. And it's like, well, like that was some pretty heavy stuff. Like, do you want to talk about like, are you okay? And just going through the fact that like it's the cliche and the it's okay not to be okay, and especially with COVID and with the helplessness of trying to work through everything with the Black Lives Matter movement right now, is just it's been so hard to create and to get up and to continue going. And it's just been it's been really difficult. So I think it's important that we just have these conversations where we're like, yeah, like to put it blatantly, this sucks and we're all trying our hardest, and sometimes like it's okay that our hardest is not the best day. Does that mean, you know what I mean? Like mental health is such a tricky thing, and I just think it's important that we talk about it and remember that it does exist outside of just emotionally charged music.
Yeah, so like you brought up the Black Lives Matter movement, and like on my end, as a black man, it's it has played with me a little bit, because I'm really not in a position where I can be like on the streets and like really in it. Like the most I can do right now is be like vocal and get online and post a lot, and sometimes it just doesn't feel like enough, and it kind of plays with that guilt and like that depression and anxiety sometimes. But like even just being in these times of just realizing that sometimes it feels like my life is in danger just from being me, that plays a big role in like keeping myself on the right track and mentally stable.
Yeah, which I mean, that whole concept is just so, I don't know, the ridiculous isn't the right word, but it's just so unfair. And it's hard that we're trying to have this movement and have this protest during this pandemic, because I think like you see a lot of people that I think are in the same position as you, where we're all and like super passionate, and especially like you would tell me even more, obviously it's just but then what can you do? Because then there's also a pandemic and people aren't being responsible all the time with masks. It's just it's a hard situation. You see, but we're all, I think, yeah, I don't know. It's just such a hard situation. It's hard to feel like we're doing a lot when we see like superficial change.
Even like not getting the change, or like not getting it like as quickly as we want, like how important to you is it like to just know that you're doing the best that you can? Like how does that sit with you versus like not getting as involved as you'd like, but like really just doing the best that you can?
Yeah, it's hard. It's like definitely something important to remember. I feel I have a responsibility, especially like as an ally, to work on this and continue going. And like it's it's frustrating because we're talking about human lives, so it's hard to ever feel like you're doing enough. Like I definitely try to remind myself that there are different lanes in this movement, and that having hard conversations and always like donating, signing petitions, and making sure like I'm posting in like a good constructive way is enough. But it's hard because again, we're talking about human lives. We're not talking about like something like superficial that we just don't agree with because it's a light political thing. Not to make light of politics, but this is equal rights. This is lives in the line. This is fear that people face every day. It's hard to remember that what we're doing, even if you're like playing a small part, that it is making a difference.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's so much bigger than like a budget proposal, or you know um how much money the military's getting, and things of that nature. Um, do you? So I know that on that, like staying on that, I know I found a lot of frustration with the argument of defunding the police. Not so much that I'm against it, but like, do you find like trying to explain to people like what it really means, and not that you're just like abolishing police forces and like taking all their resources away? Like, do you find some frustration trying to have those conversations as I do?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, there are definitely people that are more receptive to it than others, but it's so difficult because I think I mean, defund the police, like the phrasing makes sense for someone that like is involved with the movement, but from the outside, yeah, people just see it as we're getting rid of all police. And I would argue there are like a large majority of the movement that just really wants to focus on like it's just reallocating funds to support communities. And yeah, it's so difficult to have those conversations, and it's so difficult to have those conversations with people that you're close to and love. Like it's hits so much closer to home when it's someone closer to you that doesn't understand the good that could do.
So, is there any chance you see any of this? I mean, I'm sure the any chance you see this like playing out in your music and any of the upcoming projects that you're working on, or like future songs or things that you're working on, or anything like that?
I think so, definitely. I mean, as a writer, I feel like everything we experience definitely bleeds into it. Um, for me too, I think it's also going to play into just making sure that I'm more tuned in to people like of color and their music and supporting that, because as like someone that's white and coming up, growing up in that culture, I can recognize that it is not always my place to speak about it, but rather to elevate my friends that are in a better, more accurate place in their lives to speak about it. I don't know, that like phrasing was not the best, but what I'm trying to say is yes, it'll definitely play a piece into my music, because every feeling that I have definitely comes out in some way. But I think it's also going to make me more conscious of elevating other people that have a better position to talk about it.
I think that makes sense. And so who are some of the other artists and friends that you're talking about? Do you feel comfortable like talking about them and like how you're helping to like put them out there and give them a platform?
Yeah, most definitely. One of my favorites too is Extension. And she's from Drexel community, and she's just phenomenal. And she's super big into just talking about human rights and anything and everything about like just she's just great. She's really she can get super my words, my English is just not coming right now. I'm gonna say so Extension is dope. I definitely want to elevate her because she's so educated and she knows what she's talking about and she educates me all the time in like a good, healthy way. There's also I think he's going by Kid K right now. He's been releasing some other really cool stuff, some really cool rap as well. Um, yeah, definitely those two are the ones that I'm really tuned into right now in our community. It's hard too because again, like with COVID, I feel like from the Drexel community, everyone's just been super turned off. Um, yeah, those guys definitely are who I'm elevating on my day to day. And then even outside of our community, the artist Pell is doing some really cool stuff. And the producer that I'm working with as well, Focus, is releasing a project August 1st. I love all of his stuff because he's super informed and smart about how he says things. Like it just always comes off so unique and really well.
I hear you mentioning Drexel a lot. I know like when I was coming through school, they were one of the schools I looked at for like their music business, like program or whatever. And I know they had like their own record label and stuff. Is that like still a thing or something that people get involved with at that school?
Yeah, it's still like a really big thing at Drexel. The business side of our music industry program, like they have to take it. So I'm on the recording side, so I kind of work with them at a distance, if that makes sense. But yeah, they're definitely cool. They have some cool artists on there. They had Sophie G. She's also releasing something on July 17th. Um, and yeah, it's a big piece of it. And Mad Dragon, the label, tries to really be involved in our community, which is definitely cool. We have some other orgs doing some similar stuff. Like we have this cool org Flux that does a bunch of live events. And I know I just came off the board of that club. They're trying to be really conscious of moving forward and making sure that they're supporting the movement in like an organic way in the music industry. Because then it's like sometimes the alternative scene that like Flux lives in can be very like white male centric. So they're being very conscious about how they're moving forward and everything. But yeah, Mad Dragon's around. They're still kicking. They're still doing things.
I heard some like I've been listening to some of your snippets and things. I noticed you don't have a lot like I was going through your videos and they all seem to be like little clips and never like a full video. Is there any plans for like going all out and just doing a whole music video and doing that whole push?
Yeah, most definitely. Some of that definitely spins off of my anxiety because I'm like, oh God, like my voice sounds bad and like all that fun stuff. But yeah, now that we're releasing like a project the 2-song project that I really love with some people that are dope, it's definitely part of it. I'm actually planning on releasing a lyric video for Sunrise that's like built all from old footage from like my family, which is really cool. And most definitely, and the only thing that's holding me back right now is just like COVID. I'm like getting together with people, but it's definitely in the plans. I think visuals with music are so important in this day and age. So 100%.
Absolutely, I can't wait to see that. Um, so like this being more of an alternative rock and like indie like show, like you're kind of from what I ascertain, you're kind of like on that like kind of cusp of like indie rock, but like almost like but like pop and like how like I guess like what are some of your influences on like either side that kind of like led to this melding of of styles that you know you see it but like not as much as you would like to.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I like try to define my music to other people, and it sounds super cliche, but I'm always like, I don't know. I grew up in just like that punk Warped Tour scene, so I went through a hardcore phase. Like I really love Beartooth and Silverstein and Bring Me the Horizon. I think all their stuff's been really cool recently. Grew up listening to like We Came as Romans and all those guys. And then I don't know what happened. Like end of high school, beginning of college, I started to listen to more like pop stuff. And like I really love Halsey, and I think Jeremy Zucker's doing some really cool stuff. And so I think it's like that mix of pop like with alternative twists, like kind of like some of the, I like the songs that like Machine Gun Kelly and Youngblood have done together have been really cool, because I know like Machine Gun Kelly kind of came up in that Warped Tour alternative scene. So yeah, it's definitely a mix of like minimal bedroom pop stuff like Jeremy Zucker, Chelsea Cutler, Pell, and then with that nice alternative hardcore twist. So I'm excited to add some more live stuff to like the music as well. Just get together with some of my fun punk musicians and flesh it out a little bit more in like an alternative style.
Did I hear you say bedroom pop?
Yeah.
Can you define that for me?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess like I think the term came from just the idea of the bedroom studio. Now that the studio is so much more mobile when it's centered around a laptop. So it's like, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It's like EDM-esque. It's like minimal EDM that has like really warm tones. And sometimes it's like not always the highest quality because they're not done in like full studios. So like I think it's Lonely God. A lot of like TikTok songs are kind of bedroom pop, like Jeremy Zucker's like bedroom pop. A good example from like our community in Drexel is like Maisie's doing some bedroom pop stuff. Yeah, so it's like minimal EDM that's a little bit warmer, a little bit like bouncy is probably the right word. Yeah, it's like weird. I don't know. It's definitely weird, minimal pop, small studio stuff.
I learned something new every day. Um, at what point did you realize that like this was some, not only like was my mental health something that I need to address, but that the most effective way for me to do that is through music, and I have this talent and I can use it for a greater good and to help someone else.
Yeah, so I have always, as a typical artist cliche, I've been writing my entire life. So I've definitely been using it as an way to express myself. But I think the first time that it really solidified for me that I could do this and that I had the ability to do this and actually help people in the way that music helped me was at a show at Rockwood in New York City last year. I played this slow acoustic song that I've never released. It's like super confessional, and it's about like the relationship that I have with my biological father. And then this girl came up to me afterwards and was like, yo, my boyfriend broke up with me today and I really needed to hear that. Like, thank you so much. And it was just this moment where I was like, oh, wait, like this is legit. Like I'm not just singing to a crowd that doesn't care and is just there because the drinks are a little bit cheaper. Like people actually are hearing it and feeling something and understanding what I'm saying and enjoying it. So yeah, that was last summer. I think was the first time that it really solidified that I can reach people with my music and I can be super confessional and talk about what's going on with my life and not a superficial, no hate to the chain smokers, but like chain smokers-y way. And yeah, that was probably it. It was like last summer, I like knew, I was like, this is something you can totally do. And it's totally within your bounds.
When did you finally start getting into like, hey, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to make music and I'm going to put it out there for people to actually hear rather than just like write some things that no one ever sees?
Yeah, I started really releasing music last year at this time, and it was just kind of to do it if that makes sense. Like I think we were just releasing music to release music, and that's the stuff that's currently on my Spotify. It was like a string of singles, and it was really cool. But it was just stuff like do in the way, like the act of releasing music, and me as an artist kind of was like doing the little things you need to do, like get over my fears of release day. And yeah, and then it was really like that summer was when I realized that I could play the stuff that meant something to me, and it would mean more to people than just what it meant to me, if that makes sense. So it was like last spring we started releasing music, and then that summer I realized I can write stuff that means things to me and release it and be successful.
Do you think there's any difference in reception of just like releasing like one or two songs at a time as opposed to like a full length or an EP? Or I mean, I'm sure it's got to be like an easier, quicker process. But do you think like some of your fans, do they ever like kind of clamor for that? Like, give me more, like give me a whole thing.
Yeah, I think my fans are like, for definitely a little bit irritated because it's been like a year, and they're like, "Yo, you need to give us more than just like some SoundCloud stuff." So yeah, I think it's hard because as an artist, I'm super creatively charged and emotionally charged, and but then I try to think with a business brain as well. I think they want music in any fashion, any way that's done well. So that's why I think I wanted to release a 2-song project kind of together, just to give them like a little bit more, maybe like this. I know it's been a while. I think the only reason I haven't released a bigger project is just A, putting it all together, and then B, from a business perspective, like I want to build up to it. Like I want to give it the best opportunity that it can, because if I'm going to release a bigger project, they're definitely going to be connected. It's going to have like my heart, soul, brain, mind, everything in it. And I just want it to be heard by as many people as possible.
Is there anything else that any like overall overarching message that you want to get out to my listeners, your fans, and just anybody who hears this?
It's okay to not want to get out of bed some days. It's okay if you're not as productive one day as you are the next. Like we all go through it. We all 100% to some degree go through it. And even if you're struggling, like we're going to get through it together. I'm super approachable. Like please DM me. We can talk about anything and everything. And just, again, just a reminder that none of us, very few of us, are 100% okay and not struggling with something. So no one's alone, and there's always a community for you.
Thanks so much for that message of hope, and thanks for joining me. Do you want to tell the world where they can find you online and DM you, and talk a little bit about the project that's coming out soon, and like the release date, and any little details, name of it and whatnot?
Yeah. So you can follow me at Zie West. So Zie, like the end of Mackenzie, and West, pretty much anywhere. I think anywhere and everywhere, except TikTok. I'm so sorry. But yeah, Instagram is zie.west, and then Twitter is just underscore. And the project should be out everywhere July 17th. So it's super exciting. It should be, oh yeah, like I said, it should be on every platform. So wherever you listen, anywhere from Deezer to Pandora to Spotify to YouTube, it should be all over the place. So definitely give it a listen, DM me, and it'll be a good time.